All right, welcome everyone to this explainer. Today we are tackling something that is absolutely not just a theoretical risk. We're looking directly at what security experts and real-world data are calling the most consequential enterprise security threat of 2026. I'm talking about the OAuth security crisis and how it's being supercharged by the rapid adoption of shadow AI. My goal here is to break down exactly what this means for our organization's data, why our current defenses are probably being bypassed right now, and the immediate, actionable steps we need to take to secure our enterprise. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the enterprise attack surface. Second, the invisible structural failure causing all this. Third, we'll dive into how shadow AI acts as a massive multiplier. And finally, we'll wrap up with exactly how to secure our enterprise defenses.
So, part one, the enterprise attack surface. Let's talk about the real cost of inaction here.
Let's rewind to a baseline event from August 2025, the Drift and SalesLoft breach. Attackers compromised just one single third-party integration. Just one. But from that tiny little foothold, they breached over 700 distinct organizations in only 10 days. And that single cascade event didn't just stop at a few compromised accounts. It completely snowballed into a staggering 1.5 billion enterprise records being exposed across all those companies. It really goes to show that modern supply chain attacks don't just hit one target, they hit the entire ecosystem connected to it. And this starkly illustrates the sheer business impact. That exposure rapidly materialized into massive financial and reputational nightmares. We're talking over 70 lawsuits filed against the victims of that one breach. This is the magnitude of the attack surface we're dealing with today.
And if you thought 2025 was just a fluke, the Vercel breach in April 2026 proved for sure that it wasn't. Just look at this rapid progression. In February, an employee's device gets hit with some standard info-stealing malware. That malware steals a token, which is basically a digital entry key, for an AI tool called Context AI. Now, because that AI tool had been granted allow all access to the employee's corporate workspace, the attacker basically inherited those master permissions. Fast forward to April, and a customer database is up for sale on a dark web forum for $2 million.
Which brings us to part two, the invisible structural failure. Let's demystify how this actually works. The crazy part is that the root cause isn't some super sophisticated, unpreventable hack. It's actually a fundamental deployment flaw in OAuth. You know, the system that lets applications securely talk to each other. Specifically, it's a setting called Allow All Consent. This is where a standard user with literally one click can grant an outside application sweeping enterprise-wide access to corporate data, and they can do it without a single security administrator ever reviewing the request. There's just a profound disconnect here between intent and reality. Employees think they're just connecting a helpful AI chatbot to summarize meetings faster, right? They're just trying to be productive. But what that allow all click actually does is grant an external vendor persistent master keys to our entire corporate drive, keys that completely bypass our multi-factor authentication. It's exactly like an employee handing out the master keys to your building to a random delivery driver without even checking their ID.
Software security expert Thorsten Meyer really hit the nail on the head here. He points out that the system fails, quote, not because OAuth was broken, but because OAuth was deployed in a way where one click on a consent screen could grant enterprise-wide access without admin review. The really profound danger here is that a single, well-meaning employee's click completely overrides millions of dollars in enterprise security perimeters we've built.
All right, part three, shadow AI. Let's look at the explosive multiplier in all of this. Get this. The average enterprise user today connects over 50 third-party apps to their corporate identity. But look at this staggering stat. An overwhelming 98% of organizations report the presence of unsanctioned AI tools. Honestly, statistically speaking, it's highly likely half the people in this very boardroom have used an unsanctioned AI tool to help draft an email this week. Our employees are adopting these tools at a rate we literally cannot manually monitor. And it is absolutely not stabilizing. According to Gartner, less than 5% of enterprise applications featured AI agents back in 2025. But by the end of 2026, that number is projected to hit 40%. That's an incredible 8x explosion in AI agents deployed within enterprise applications in just an 18-month window. And remember, every single one of these new tools is a potential entry point if they utilize that allow all consent flow. When these shadow AI tools inevitably get compromised over at the vendor level, they hit the enterprise bottom line incredibly hard. Shadow AI breaches carry an average $670,000 cost premium over traditional incidents,
And worse, they're stealthy. They actually take longer to detect, an average of 24/7 days, because the malicious activity just hides behind the trusted identity of the AI tool that we willingly allowed into our network.
So, the crucial takeaway here is understanding why shadow AI is so much more dangerous than traditional shadow IT. Modern AI scheduling assistants, writing tools, and meeting summarizers inherently require broad data access to even function. They literally need to read your emails and corporate drives to be useful. So when these tools are compromised, they act as persistent attack infrastructure. And because the AI tool was legitimately granted access in the first place, its activity logs look completely normal to our security systems. It just strolls right past our MFA.
Okay, let's pivot.
Part 4. Securing Enterprise Defenses. Here is the executive action plan.
The good news is we don't have to remain exposed. We can shift from being vulnerable to being secure, and we can actually do it today. Here is the exact, non-disruptive executive playbook to immediately close this gap. It's essentially a two-step foundational process. Step 1, we've got to inventory everything currently connected to our environment. Step 2, we must switch the enterprise default over to admin-managed consent.
Operationally, here's how that works. First, we audit existing apps against the principle of least privilege, slicing off any long-forgotten or overly permissive access grants. Then, the most critical step. Whether we're using Google Workspace or Microsoft 365, we dive into the configurations and disable user-level consent entirely. From this day forward, we route every single new application request through an explicit administrative approval workflow.
Honestly, this just means changing our platform defaults so that employees have to request access and security admins have to approve it. Like the expert's advice, new apps get reviewed before they can touch corporate data. It's a straightforward governance change, but it completely resolves that tension between employee productivity and enterprise security. It ensures no vendor ever touches our data without our explicit knowledge and vetting.
Look, we know the threat now. We've seen the 1.5 billion records exposed, the millions in extortion, and the explosive 8x growth of AI tools multiplying our risk every single day. But we also have the exact configuration playbook to stop it today. So the final question for this board is pretty simple. Are we going to leave the keys to our entire enterprise sitting on the welcome mat, or do we implement admin-managed consent and lock our digital front door right now?